Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm gonna start out with something fun here. There is an account on X called Ace of Trades. It's one of my followers basically sent me a picture of this thing right there. I believe is this account's daughter. It basically says, "Look what I found in my daughter's bathtub." Apparently, I'm a big hit with the kids. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. And apparently, I was also told that every single time she hears my jingle, she giggles. So I'm very happy to see my extension of influence here. Thank you for the support. I just wanted to say that right out loud. The second thing I do want to say is, and you're not going to like me very much for this, and there's a particular reason for it. I have spent probably a few hours in a row on Saturday, maybe even like 7 or 8 hours in a row, just pumping up a bunch of videos, both for members, for public, as well as live streams straight for like 2 hours, taking between like YouTube and X. I probably did about like 80 different chart requests, and I think it is fun. But my voice, even you can hear like during my live stream, my voice is kind of going out a little bit. You know, like even now, my voice is not doing the greatest. And there's only so many hours that like a cat can talk in a day. So I think it's important to kind of reevaluate in terms of my priorities. I did feel a little bit more burnout, and there's actually a lot of demand. You know, just having so many different chart requests. So if you are a YouTube follower, I unfortunately, I'm going to leave two different tiers. I'm not going to, change the price of current tier. And there's no way for me to like grandfather folks in on YouTube. They just don't give me the option to do that. So I'm just going to make two separate tiers. One tier is $5. You're still going to get my members only content. You're still going to get my lessons access and all of that. That's great, And if you ask questions, I'm still going to try to respond. But if you have specific chart requests, which actually most of them actually come during live stream, and the live stream is getting more and more popular, I feel like my voice is getting more and more exhausted through that. So I'm gonna try to just raise the price here a little bit for that particular purpose, both for chart requests as well as live stream chat, to that price that you're seeing there, to $10. You don't have to. Obviously, all this stuff is optional. I'm still going to pump up, free content. The reason why I just don't want to spend all my time just doing chart requests. But if there's a demand, please feel free to support me by, changing the tier and upgrading the tier to this if you would like. I'm going to start maybe this next coming weekend to really try to implement this. Like I'm going to probably not do too much chart requests if you are, subscribed to the $5 $5 membership. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do my best to help with you charting, things like that. Regardless, I'm gonna share my thoughts anyway. I'm gonna try my best to answer questions. Anyway, with that said, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. I think a few days ago, I came out with a video, and it certainly was like, man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It broke down the bull market support band. It slashes through like it's butter. Like it's support, like I don't. There are a lot of really like just bitter comments and things like that on my videos saying that I'm wrong and all that stuff, right? Well, guess what? The week candle finally closed, and it closed as a big giant hammer bottom candle. Like actually these kinds of candles are very, very bullish overall. It doesn't necessarily mark the bottom, right? Just because like you have a hammer candle over here, it didn't really mark a bottom over there, right? You have a hammer candle over there, it didn't really mark a bottom over there, right? But during this process, like you have another hammer, you have another hammer here. It doesn't necessarily mark the bottom, but when it trends sideways and downwards for about 3 months, and you have a big giant wick down below, this really tells me that this is like very much of a liquidity grab. Possibly before to go higher, because a lot of times, like even though bottom hammer candle doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to go a lot higher from here. It just means that there's a lot of demand underneath, and to see one of these candles actually increases your confidence to say that, hey, I think that Bitcoin has a good chance to go up higher from here now, right? before you have these kind of like liquidity grab candles, a lot of times it's hard for Bitcoin to just kind of go silent and just going up like that. Like that's not the behavior of Bitcoin, and that's not how the behavior of high beta assets that has a lot of leverage that sometimes needs to be flushed before it can go up higher. This is what I'm seeing. See a hammer candle over here, punch through the Bollinger support band, very similar to this liquidity grab candle over here that went all the way down to like 49, some exchanges like 48,000. Very similar to the liquidity grab candle over here that went all the way to 20,000 here. I remember this very, very vividly. Actually, I think that this candle over here is very similar to the candle over here. When I was back over here in like March 2023, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy here. I'm gonna buy here. There's no reason to not buy. Like this is a liquidity grab candle going right into it. It's a flush buy, right? This candle also reminds me of this candle over here, where it looks like it was going to touch the Bollinger support band, but didn't really quite get there. A lot of people were calling the backtest the 30,000 zone. I just never really thought that this is something that Bitcoin has to do. And certainly it didn't. And right now we've left the 30,000 zone here for a very long time. And right now we have another one of these candles that really makes me think, twice about what's going to happen, right? You didn't really have that little last cycle. Last cycle was a little bit more like just a burner through all the way up above. Didn't even touch the Bollinger support band for like 6 months. The cycle before that, around 2015, 2017, you have a lot of these kind of liquidity grab candles, right? You have one right there where it just kind of punches through Bollinger support band, get everybody all scared, right? Bitcoin crashed, and Bitcoin's the end for about like 7 times here during this cycle. Like this liquidity grab candle over here, this liquidity grab candle over there, this liquidity grab candle over here. You just kept on having over and over again, right? And this band is called Bollinger support band for a reason, because it's been supporting the bull market. It's also happening to be a bear market resistance band as well, right? But regardless, I think right now it's just we end up at a pretty favorable spot. Like even if we go back and back test the Bollinger support band, even if we go down underneath to fill this candlestick here with a little bit more of a this wick over here, a little bit of a candlestick, it's still going to be favorable because there's a lot of liquidity that's been grabbed, and I don't think we necessarily have to go down that much further anymore, right? That's thing number one. I'm going to tell you why I continue to remain bullish on Bitcoin. There's a lot of different reasons. This is reason number one, right? Reason number two is if you just look at, well, if you don't look at Fib level, you just look at Gann, right? This Gann chart over here that I've drawn from the bottom of this cycle, right, all the way up to where price is at right now. And I've been following this this Gann here. I guess this 360 and 500. I've been following this Gann here for quite some time. It did get rejected up here. Whenever price got up here to like the 102, 103 range, I was like, I think price is going to go sideways for quite some time. And it did. And when it looks like it was going to push through here, I was like, I'm not sure. It looks like there's enough energy maybe potentially push through, but it didn't, right? Ended up kind of hovering down here, do a bearish back test here. So I guess this is not entirely surprising to like come back to the angle down here and just touch the angle right there. This is not entirely surprising, right? And right now we came back, grabbed liquidity, touched the angle here, which got supported here multiple times. I think we might have enough energy to push through the arc here now. And if it does push through, the next arc is going to be around 160, 170, depends on where it hits, right? That could be where the destination could be. Before that, you're also going to have a horizontal resistance zone over here around 117 for it to push through before you're able to get there, right? But it's just looking at this, it's not a bearish thing, right? For it to kind of back test and form a little bit of a higher low over here, overall, Bitcoin's just been forming higher highs and higher lows. There's really not much to be getting, completely scared about Bitcoin. This is another Gann chart here that I'm showing. The setting's a little bit different. I picked the COVID bottom here as the pivot point to start the Gann, and the setting is 720 and 10,000. The other one, I believe it was like 720 and 500, but from the cycle bottom, right? This is a little bit of a different Gann here. And it also gives me some pretty decent market symmetry. See how I got, it pushed through here, back test to arc up here, and then got rejected here to arc, and it's just kind of hovering around here to the zone. Have a hard time breaking through the arc here. Eventually, it's going to break through, back test the 45-degree angle, push up through this O arc up here, hovering sideways here, push through the horizontal zone, back test the horizontal zone here, almost perfectly, right? Almost perfectly. I can't make this stuff up. It's just, these things are just like absolutely amazing. If I just kind of look at it, I'm like, okay, this is also part of the reason why I really wasn't that scared about the drop, and a lot of people calling for lower. I'm just not sure whether it's gonna have to go lower than that because of a lot of things I'm seeing, right? But that's another part of the reason why I was just like a little bit skeptical in terms of what people are thinking. Even just look at the daily chart here on my Gann. This Gann here is also showing some pretty remarkable symmetry. It was starting from August 5th pivot right here. The settings 360 and 200. You can see how it has really been bouncing from one arc to another. When it got up to the arc over here, it's riding down the arc. Eventually, it's testing the top of the arc, it got rejected, and naturally had to come back down to the bottom of the arc here. Found a 45-degree angle, right? Kind of like how it bounced over here. It ended up bouncing over here beautifully, right? And right now, you're hovering back around the zone because you found some very, very important confluence support. And when it doesn't die, it tends to do pretty well, right? Does it mean that it's not going to come back and backtest this area? No, it can always do that. And if you're also looking at this particular chart here, does it look scary to you? Yeah, there is a little bit scary here on the daily time frame. I can see why people would be scared because you have like a zone around, I guess, 93,000 to 92,000, somewhere around there. This is going to be a little bit of a resistance zone, right? Where you had a little bit of a double top pattern over here, broke down, grabbed liquidity, came back up. Now you're having a little bit of a bearish back test, right? So is that scary? Yeah, a little bit scary. I'm not gonna lie, right? The other thing that's a little bit scary too is, in addition to that being potentially like a little bit of a bearish back test, which means that we're gonna have to come back down and grab some additional energy, test some additional support before going back up again to challenge the arc. I thought that once we found support here, it's going to go up here to the arc. I just don't know the exact path. That's what's going to make sense to me, is for it to go up to the curve right up here, because of the market symmetry that's been exquisitely showing. If you touch the bottom of the arc here, found support, you're going to touch the top, right? You touch the bottom of the arc here in a very significant way. You're going to go back and touch the top. Where it's going to hit, I don't know exactly. The other thing that is a little bit concerning is that the 20-day moving average has been negative sloping. Sure, this candle over here close above the 20-day moving average, but I'm just not sure when it's going to be able to really truly fit that for resistance and support. We're trying to battle that right now. We can potentially come back down and try to form a little bit of a high low before going up higher. I think that's entirely a possibility, right? Or it could just end up holding this support zone right here and just go up to the upper Bollinger Band, going back to like the 100,000s. Entirely possible. But I don't think we're necessarily out of the woods yet, but it's looking a lot better because of market symmetry. I do have to say a couple other things here too, and I think the best way to do it would be look at a weekly chart here. Ignore the Gann. The Gann over here is based on a monthly, so that's not going to give you the touch of the line, things like that are not going to be like exact. I just want to show you fit level here. And I choose this one because the Gann doesn't have that many lines to confuse you. It's very, very important to look at what Bitcoin did in terms of Fibonacci levels. Very important to look at that because everything makes sense, right? If you're looking at what the log fibs here from the last cycle top to the cycle bottom over here, you can see how it's really been hovering around these fib levels here really, really well. If you look at the log scale, right? If you look at the log scale, you can see that it's like the 0.136 is important level here. 0.236 is important level over here. You can see how it was bouncing between the golden pocket here, between the 0.61 and 0.76. And you can see when it's having a hard time breaking through previous high here, it has to kind of come back down here, back to 0.76 here, before building up energy to kind of push through, right? Where did it get rejected here? Is at the 1.272, right? Where is it finding support here? I think you can find that support a little bit more closer if you do like a linear fib level. It finds support here, 1.272 on the linear, and it's looking like it wants to bounce, right? Usually if you have a hard time breaking above one level, it come back test two fib levels, you find support and bounce. These are very, very bullish things. So I'm not really bearish on what Bitcoin is doing right now. I just really cannot be, right? if I just turn off the Gann here, if I'm going to look at the monthly here, something extremely bullish has also happened. And this is something that, in general, is going to cause a stock or any underlying asset to go higher. What is it? It is that initially it was a little bit too far away from the blue line, the Tenkan, the blue line over here, right? Whenever things get a little bit too far away from the Tenkan, market has a way to kind of punish you, either through time or through price, right? Here, we got a little bit too far, too fast back in March 2024, and then having to correct sideways over here, back test the Tenkan here, right? Here, we got a little bit too far, too fast away for the December, January. I was hoping the Tenkan would just catch up, but based on mathematically speaking, it just wasn't ready, right? Either price just parabolic go up and push the Tenkan, drag it along with it, or it had to come back, or at least kind of get a little bit closer to it. It basically just back tested Tenkan here back in February almost perfectly. Back tested area almost perfectly, right? And that's not a bearish thing. The other thing is also not a bearish thing. A lot of people looking at this and saying that this is like a bearish engulfing candle. Oh no, right? This is bad, right? You see bearish engulfing candle is going to go down, right? You had a bearish engulfing candle over here, did the same thing, back test the Tenkan over here. You know, it held, right? And it wasn't bearish. It wasn't bearish at all, right? Why is that? Why is that? Well, if you look at the volume tells you a whole story. Even here is a bearish engulfing candle on like an increasing volume over here on Coinbase, right? But this bearish engulfing candle over here is on declining volume, which tells me that I'm not going to worry about just one candle and get me scared, right? If you look at Bitstamp, same thing, low volume bearish engulfing candle. Usually these have a higher fail rate. If you look at Binance, same thing, right? Low volume bearish engulfing candle, low success rate. So I'm looking at all of these, and basically everything is just kind of telling me that, hey, it's fine. Don't worry about it, right? If anything, this kind of back test on step case up like that, these are very, very bullish setup. When I'm seeing something like this, it gets me a little bit more bullish overall, because look at the 2015, 2017 bull market. What did it do? It just basically just ride the Tenkan on the way up. This is what a bull market does, right? It just touches the candle and uses that as a stepwise thing to kind of go up. The only difference between this cycle here and that cycle is that we kind of went sideways here for a very long time. Got a lot of people really frustrated, got a lot of people really scared. And I think the entire time, I can show you the global liquidity and things like that. I think the entire time we just basically wait for global liquidity to kind of go up here. And we finally have a little bit of push out, and we have a little back test of global liquidity. I can show you that on the M2 global liquidity index here. We basically had a breakout of this zone over here, right? I should probably use a different, yeah, I use the monthly here. You basically have a little bit of a breakout of this huge resistance zone for global liquidity. Breakout, back testing it, right? That's what you're waiting for. This whole thing right there is just waiting for a global liquidity breakout. You already had the breakout here. Bitcoin followed. Had a back test here. Bitcoin followed a couple months later, right? It looks like global liquidity is picking up here again. So as far as I'm concerned, this is not a bearish thing. This is just not a bearish thing, right? Even just looking at the market symmetry here, in terms of what Bitcoin has done, all the way from 2011, right? You can see how it just basically bounced from arc to arc. When it gets rejected here, it takes a few years to push through, back test, go up to the next arc, reject it, a few years there, push through, back test, and then go up to the next arc, reject it here, push through, back test, and then go up to the next arc, maybe, right? I don't know. That's going to be where it's going to end up, naturally going to end up progressing to, right? So you do have some resistance here around 200,000. I do wonder whether or not that's going to be a resistance zone. But before that and there's not really any major level. I think the only thing that was really holding it up was the Tenkan was a little bit too far away, right? If you're also looking at the overall market symmetry, you can see how after a backtest of the arc over here, after breakthrough backtest, you do have a little bit of a cool down period before it goes up higher, right? After a backtest of the arc over here and go up push up, you do have a little bit of cool down period here before it goes up higher, right? After a backtest of the arc over here, you do have a little bit of cool down period before it goes up higher, right? So as far as I can tell, I think the market symmetry tells me that it's going to push through at least to 200,000. If not to, like, you know, something ridiculous up here, like 600, 700,000. I don't know whether or not Bitcoin is going to do that. I do not know, right? Nobody knows for sure. But I also don't think that this cycle really had the parabolic bull phase yet. And people are kind of giving up on it. I don't think people actually envision Bitcoin being going that high. Like it's just not in their imagination for whatever reason this cycle to think that that's going to happen. Whereas the last few cycles it did that, right? Had that parabolic bull trend to drag the upper Bollinger Band up and the lower Bollinger Band all the way down to the negatives, right? And the bull trend didn't really get completely exhausted until like a parabolic top here in 2017, right? Until you have a double top here around 2021. And the entire time you had a Bollinger Band expansion during this parabolic bull phase. We really haven't had that. We just haven't had that because we haven't really had that breakout of global liquidity yet, right? Always going back to M2 liquidity cycle here, right? You have a breakout back test here, right? And then we might be getting ready to gear up for that parabolic bull phase for Bitcoin. You had a little breakout back test here, right? Where it eventually was shooting up with a big giant parabolic bull trend here of global liquidity, which together with Bitcoin, it did the same thing. Same thing here, right? Breakout, back test, and then it goes a lot higher this leg. That's when you have that increase in parabolic bull trend. We simply just haven't had that yet. The other thing too that I always generally look at was China. I think a lot of people are underestimating the impact of what China has done over the last few cycles. If I can overlay these couple of charts here with China being at the bottom here with the Hang Seng Index, they're not lining up very well. Hang on just 1 second. Okay, I think it's lined up as good as possible. Bitcoin on top, Hang Seng Index at the bottom, monthly chart, right? You can see really for ever since this big giant cycle, let's look at the last 2 cycles. Hang Seng Index had this big lick up that was coinciding with the parabolic bull phase, right, of Bitcoin. Hang Seng Index had this big giant lick up, and that was associated with the parabolic bull trend of the 2015-2017, especially the last leg of it when Hang Seng just had basically shown like Chinese liquidity just going insane, right? And that's when you have the parabolic bull trend here for Bitcoin, right? What do we have right now? We've had a bull trend for a long time now, really considering a pretty decent bull trend here that looks a little bit more parabolic here since January 2024, right? And Bitcoin has been going up overall since January 2024. But I wonder if this parabolic bull trend of the Chinese stock market continue to go up, then it could also continue to drag Bitcoin up higher as well. It's just one of those things that I think the Chinese market is turning bullish. I think that there's going to be some liquidity that's going to end up pouring from the Chinese market to the US and also to Bitcoin because that's what they do, right? I just can't really be that bearish on Bitcoin. I'm going to show you something else. I can talk about Bitcoin all freaking day. Like, this is not something that I can talk about it in good times and bad times. I don't care. I can talk all about it. Look at the 2-day Ichimoku cloud. And with the 2-day Ichimoku cloud, I'm going to turn off the conversion base or Tengen Kitchen here. I'm going to show you something. Look at how beautiful this market symmetry is on a 2-day Ichimoku cloud, right? You found support basically right at 2-day Ichimoku cloud. We have initially have some support. We broke through, back tested top of the cloud, unable to hold, came back, tested the bottom, held, right? So I think naturally going to end up gravitating up to the top of the cloud here. Although we do have a horizontal resistance zone over here that we need to battle, which is doing right now as we speak. See how it bounced on the 2-day Ichimoku cloud here. See how 2-day Ichimoku cloud here is relative resistance. See how you have some support over here and support over there. You see how when it broke down, had a back test of the 2-day Ichimoku cloud, came back down, and had to really push through before you're able to go up higher. But it ended up breaking down, and then it just keeps on serving as resistance and support zone over and over again. This is not as beautiful as some of the earlier examples of the cycle. You got really close here, really didn't really end up touching it, but here we broke down, back tested once, back tested twice, eventually able to push through, right? Back tested again here before going a lot higher. 2-day Ichimoku cloud here at the bottom was serving as support to really make that big giant push up. 2-day Ichimoku cloud top right there was really where it found support here back in March 2023 before this big giant move up, right? But the 2-day Ichimoku cloud was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, and resistance here after it broke out and do a bearish backtest, right? You see how beautiful this indicator apparently is, and even was able to kind of hold a support here. That's another level of confluence I just wanted to show you. There's just a lot of different things I'm looking at. I'm just like, man, I'm not sure whether or not this is something I'm really get scared about. This video is getting really long. I'm going to basically just talk about a few more things. I'm going to stop the video here real quick, right? Maybe another few minutes, just go through some things here real quick. Bitcoin dominance. I continue to think that Bitcoin dominance is showing a lot of like fatigue and toppy kind of behavior. The reason why really is more based on RSI. It's really more based on trend. I'm sorry, I need to get rid of volume here. It's really more based on RSI because this whole parabolic peak up here with this big giant wick above, which basically shows that this whole thing is looking more and more exhausted. It's happening on really on true bearish divergence here for the first time, right? I think that you see some bearish divergence here on the monthly. It does make you think that whether or not things are just going to end up, reversing trend from here. It's getting pretty tired. You can see that here on the monthly. You can see that on the weekly here even more clear, where you have a true kind of bearish divergence here, just kind of building up. You can call this a little bit of bull flag here. I guess there is a potential for even make another double top here. I think it's still possible. Altcoin season might still be a little bit delayed until maybe Q2 or something like that. It's possible, but regardless, it doesn't really matter. I think it's just inevitable. Because if you're looking at global liquidity, and I always go back to global liquidity because it's the most important thing ever. I don't care about Bitcoin halving. I don't care about any of that. I care about global liquidity because if you have a breakout of a horizontal resistance zone or a backtest of global liquidity, and you have the next leg moving up like that, you have Bitcoin dominance just drop. You have liquidity flowing to more high risk assets like altcoins that happened here during the last leg up on Bitcoin, right, from 2017 moving on. And you can see that whenever you have global liquidity hitting a resistance zone, that's when Bitcoin dominance comes up again. That's when Bitcoin drops, altcoin drops harder, Bitcoin dominance goes up. Until you break out and have a backtest here, and you have a big giant move like up right here, that's when Bitcoin dominance just plummets, right? Bitcoin keeps going up, altcoins go up higher. What's going on right now? You have a long period consolidation zone over here, resistance of global liquidity. And until you're able to break out and have a convincing backtest, which we're just doing right now in the process doing so, you're going to end up having Bitcoin dominance going up, right? Bitcoin goes up, altcoins go up a little bit, Bitcoins fall, altcoins fall harder. That's exactly what we've been experiencing, right? Right now we're getting into the juncture where we might be going through a backtest of global liquidity. Looks like global liquidity might be going up, and we might be getting close to that big giant drop of Bitcoin dominance here. Although when exactly that's going to be, I cannot tell you when exactly it's going to be. All I can say is getting close, but I mean when close it could be happening in the next few months. Which means I think altcoins might be a pretty decent opportunity, and you can look at what the relative strength of certain altcoins are to determine what you would like to get into. What has relative strength is not Ethereum, but Ethereum is important a lot to talk about because I really truly do believe that this part of the cycle here where we kind of go sideways for a very long time is very similar to this part of the cycle. I really think that this cycle is lengthening because I just showed you that global liquidity breakout and backtest took a while, right? And if you have a longer period of time to build a base, I think that might end up causing the explosion even harder, right? You have a short time here to build a base here, and it just didn't really go up that much higher, right? So I actually, like, a lot of people just get really jaded, really bitter because Ethereum's underperformed Bitcoin, and it's been doing nothing for like the whole year, so it's going to continue to do nothing. Like, that's not how assets work. That's not how charts work. That's not how finances work. That's not how stocks work, right? You can't have a period of consolidation to happen for a whole year and expect things to continue to remain the same. A lot of people are getting to the point that they even think that there's not going to be any further bullish continuation of Bitcoin. You think that the cycle is over, right? And I was just kind of showing you, I don't think it is, right? So if that's the case, and if altcoins are going to come up, and if Bitcoin dominance is going to drop, I think we really have to focus on Ethereum here. If the whole thing is that you're looking at, I'm going to draw some, I'm not an alien wave cat, but this is what I see, right? And this, you don't have to be like an alien wave technician to like really see like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any like chartist, any cat can draw that. You can look at the precise Fibonacci levels and all that, but any chartist can do that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a pretty obvious thing, right? And when you have 1, 2, 3, or 5 on bullish assets, you're going to have an ABC correction after you completed 5 waves, right? So right now you can look into Ethereum. You can think about drawing waves here. A lot of people might end up calling this wave 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, and they think that wave 5 is going to come at some point, right? And wave 5 is going to be very subdued. It's not going to go up very high. I don't really know whether or not that's the way that I would draw it, because this is a very complex wave 4. I would probably, and this is based on global liquidity, this is based on stock market dynamics, this is based on what I'm seeing all overall on like macro, on what I just showed you with the global liquidity breakout, right? Last time with the M2 money supply back testing that zone over here of a breakout, that was wave 2, right? You have wave 1 that just kind of gets started over here. It looks like you're about to break out of this horizontal resistance here on global liquidity, right? You have wave 1, you finally broke out above it, and back test, this is wave 2. That's generally what happens, right? And when you have the big giant lick up on global liquidity, that's when wave 3 starts, right? And then you finally have a little bit of a tiring of the global liquidity. It looks like it's just trying to hit resistance up here. That's when you have wave 4 and 5, and then everybody else that got too bullish over here is X liquidity, right? ABC correction happened here. When global liquidity does nothing, that's when a bear market happens. If anything, I think this whole thing right here, where global liquidity is just not really going up that much higher, like over here, right? Global liquidity is not doing that much higher. If anything, I think this is the wave 1 up here. I think this is the wave 2, which means that if now that we have the breakthrough global liquidity and a backtest, which means wave 3 is coming. And wave 3 generally is the biggest and the most powerful one of them all. 5, 4, 5. I don't care exactly where it's going to be. I can show you some Fibonacci levels in terms of where they're going to be. But the general gist is this. Wave 3 is going to shock a lot of people if it comes, if I'm not wrong. Global liquidity just end up plummeting from here, then never mind, right? I mean, like if the world government decided they don't want to print money because they don't want the stock market to go up, because they don't want to get reelected, because they want people to get angry and revolt, because there's no innovation happening in the real world and there's no reason for them to want to print money to fight deflationary forces, then so be it. Then this could end up plummeting down from there. But if they end up printing money, which they always do, I think they're getting ready to warm up the money printer over here. If you're interested in my macro philosophy, I will share that on a separate video too. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I was going to talk a little bit more about like the altcoins here, but I'm going to leave that be because I don't want this to go way over. But I do want to talk about the relative strength coins here. XRP, my goodness, it looks like XRP just wants to go up to the arc up here. And it's holding 0.86 here perfectly. It looks like it just want to go up to like $8, right? What else is showing relative strength? HBAR is showing relative strength, right? It looks like it's holding its arc here almost perfectly. It's holding 0.678 over here almost perfectly. It looks like it wants to gravitate up to the next level. I think I did this again here on the weekly, so I'm going to show you the weekly here. It's basically holding its arc here really perfectly, and if it's holding arc here perfectly, if it's able to break about the arc, which if I zoom out here, you see how beautiful market symmetry is. It's just absolutely gorgeous, right? If you zoom in here, if it's able to break through the arc, which is on its way of trying to do that, and if it's able to break about the 0.786, then it's probably going to grab it up to the next arc, and if it breaks that arc, it could end up going to the next arc after that, right? It's showing relative strength. What else is showing relative strength? XLM. These dinosaur coins are showing relative strength. It's trying to break about this this bear market trend line over here. Is hovering around the golden pocket between 0.618 and 0.76. Is showing some relative strength here, right? ADA is showing a lot of relative strength. I'm going to talk about ADA and I'm going to end the show here. It went up like insane 60% by like a few hours ago, right? Was this expected? Yes, it is expected. I was actually posting on X here. Whenever it like held the bottom of the arc here, and whenever it got back about the 0.382, I thought it was going to end up breaking through. I thought it was going to end up challenging the 0.76 here in a horizontal gain level here, and if it breaks, it's going to head up here to like $6 to $8, $6 to $9, I could say. That's probably where it's going to go. If the whole cryptocurrency market is also cooperative, that's probably where it's going to go. ADA showing relative strength. It was also an early cycle coin last cycle. So I suspect that it'll probably end up doing the same thing, and money's going to end up rotating around. Whenever people start talking about ADA non-stop, money's going to end up rotating around, which is what happened over here. So I think it's probably going to end up pushing through the arc up here, get to the top of the arc here, and that probably would be the end of the cycle. That's my guess. Which is not a shabby amount of gain. You're talking about potentially like an 8x from here. I don't know. None of these are deterministic. I'm just talking trash as a cat. It's a 35-minute video. I'm going to stop here. Take care, guys. Bye.